Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about holding somebody at gunpoint. And I've been doing a series of videos intended for all the new gun carriers in states like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Illinois, which is the other one? Uh, California, Hawaii. So all these people basically they just got their rights back. The Supreme Court affirmed that they're not second-class citizens, that they have a right to carry firearms as well. But the issue is that in those states, over the next 2 years, you're going to have a whole bunch of new people carrying guns that in many cases don't have the benefit of learning from prior generations that have been carrying guns. So let's say, because I'm pretty close to New Jersey and New York, even when you go to a gun range in one of these states and there's a gun instructor over there, right? He has not been carrying a gun, for the last, whatever, 12, 15, 20 years, okay? So it's a new thing to him as well. So a lot of you guys in those states are going to have to travel outside of your states and seek out, instruction from people that have been carrying guns for quite a while, okay? So like in these other states, like if you live in Pennsylvania, when we go to our gun clubs, basically, if you're new, everybody, when you go to a gun club, like everybody there has already been carrying a gun for 20 years. So it's really easy for you to pick up a lot of information. That's not going to be the case when you go to these gun ranges in these 6 states, okay? So in this video, I want to talk about holding somebody at gunpoint, and it's a bad idea. Okay, it's a really bad idea that's going to get you in a lot of trouble. The general concept is that the gun comes out of the holster to be used. Okay, and the reason for that is if we in most states now, and I'm generalizing here because from state to state the laws are going to be written a little differently, but in most states the laws with regards to the use of deadly force are almost like crystal clear. Like the law specifically states that you can use a gun to prevent death, prevent rape, prevent kidnapping, or prevent serious bodily harm. Okay, so it tells you that in those circumstances you can use deadly force. That's black and white. Okay. When you're talking about trying to prevent the use of deadly force, because I can understand this idea that, hey, if you got somebody over there that's threatening you, perhaps they've got a knife but they're at a good distance away, that if you go to your gun and you show your gun, they're gonna stop doing what they're doing and you're not gonna have to to go any further, right? I can understand that. I can understand that concept, but that is a gray area that's not clearly defined in law. So the thing to understand here is that the law tells you when you can use deadly force. It does not tell you when you can give warnings and what type of warnings you can give and to what extent. So the law does not cover warnings, okay? In fact, what you might consider to be a warning to prevent having to use deadly force. Other people that are going to be looking at this situation weeks from now and months from now may construe your warnings as threats. Okay, and here's the thing: in my state, in Pennsylvania, pointing a gun at somebody that doesn't deserve to have a gun pointed at them is considered an assault, and then they can throw on all sorts of other stuff like terroristic threats, etc. They're going to come up with a whole laundry list of charges if you point the gun at somebody or threaten to use your gun on somebody that doesn't need that. Now, here's the issue: if somebody is in fact a deadly threat, you gotta use your gun, right? If they're not, then you don't use your gun, and there's really no in between. Okay, so that's one of the things to understand with the way these laws are crafted. Okay, it's kind of like an on-off switch. Okay, you're either using deadly force or you're not. Okay, the situation either requires it or it does not require it. There's no in between. So I understand the good sentiment, right, where you would like to prevent a situation from from escalating to the point that you would have to use deadly force. But that's not how the law is set up, okay? And you're gonna probably end up in more trouble because again they're gonna come at you and say that you were provoking this situation, and that's basically in order to use deadly force, there has to be an imminent deadly threat, right? And that person has to have ways and means. Okay, so if they're in a wheelchair holding a knife, it doesn't matter what they're saying. They don't have ways and means. However, if they're in a wheelchair holding a gun, that's a different situation. Okay, so it has to be an imminent deadly threat, and they have to have ways and means to carry it out. Okay, it also has to be immediate, right? It can't be like, okay, they threatened you a week ago, and all of a sudden they're just standing in front of you. It has to be immediate. Okay, you have to be innocent, and what that means is you cannot be provoking a problem, and that's where they're gonna get you with you trying to de-escalate the situation by using a gun, right? By either referencing the gun in any way, whether it's showing it or referencing. They're gonna hit you with provoking the situation. Okay, so you pretty much you got to get this out of the gray area and pull it into the black and white. Okay, because you're not going to be successful in the gray area. You can only be successful in the black and white, where this person was in the action of trying to kill you or do one of these things to you, kill you, rape you, kidnap you, or do other serious bodily harm, and they were in the process of doing it, and you had to defend yourself. Okay, so you got to pull it out of the gray area and get it into that black and white area, because that's where you're going to be able to defend yourself best. That's where you're going to be able to make a stand. As the situation is developing, you have the benefit of being able to make certain choices, right, and decide at what point does this happen. Like, does it happen here, or does it happen if I take a couple of steps back here? If I take a couple of steps back here, now I'm in a position to show that, hey, I was trying to get away. Okay, doing things such as yelling to the person to stop what they're doing, get away from you, is going to draw other people's attention to what's happening, and now you've got witnesses that are seeing this, and they're seeing you back away. So again, these are ways that you can kind of plan ahead for your own defense. Now, you might say, hey, how am I supposed to do all this? Listen, you drive a car every day. I am sure that you have avoided lots of car accidents, with quick braking or quick maneuvering with your steering wheel. Okay, you're able to think on your feet and make fast decisions. So something like saying, get back, stop, move away, right? Notice I didn't mention the gun. All right, get back, stay away. I'm bringing other people's attention to what's happening. One of the things I could also be doing is changing my position. So if I do end up going to my gun, right, and I'm shooting in this direction, bullets are going to go in a certain direction, versus if I step here, versus if I step here. So with just like 3 simple steps, I can drastically change the direction in which my bullets are going to be going if they go through the threat, or if I miss. These are all things that you got to factor. And I already talked in an ambush type of situation where you don't have time to assess what's going on. The technique that I will use is I'll come up and I'm targeting the lower area over here, the lower abdomen and the hip, because I know where my bullets are going. Okay, that's still use of deadly force, right? We don't, here's the thing. A lot of times people talk about wounding versus, shooting with the intent to kill. We don't shoot with the intent to kill. We shoot with the intent to stop the threat. Okay, and that's really, really important. The words matter. Okay, we shoot to stop the threat. And if you're targeting lower legs, that's not going to stop the threat. And also, it potentially raises the question of, was deadly force actually necessary if you didn't feel the need to shoot into a vital area? Okay, so again, this also complicates things even further. But targeting here versus targeting down here, in a situation where I'm ambushed, and I'm, basically I'm either defending down here or defending up here. I'm still targeting center mass. Now, of course, this is not something I'm going to discuss with the police. I'm not going to discuss with the police, um, what areas I was targeting. That's something that you discuss with an attorney, and the attorney is going to discuss this with the prosecutor if it's in your best interest, because he may decide that, hey, he maybe just keep this information to himself if it's not necessary to put out there, and especially if the person that was attacking you has a long history of being in and out of jail, and so forth. So there's a good chance that your attorney may not even need to bring these things up. Okay. So again, that's really important. If you do get into the situation, you gotta keep your mouth shut. Don't talk. Don't talk about what your intentions are. All you're concerned with the in the aftermath is get the gun back in the holster as fast as possible, because the last thing you want is other people coming onto the scene seeing you holding a gun. Okay, get the gun back in the holster as fast as possible. Um, you know, basically you want to preserve the evidence. Look for the gun, look for the knife, don't touch it, make sure nobody else touches it. Look at your shell casings. If they move around, make sure that you point that out to the police. The witnesses, make sure you know who the witnesses are and point that out to the police. Okay, these are the things that you gotta be concerned with. You tell the police they're the witnesses, go talk to them, please. You don't talk to them yourself, because you're not gonna you're gonna say the wrong words, such as, for example, shooting to kill versus shooting to stop the threat. Okay, if you say you shot to kill, I mean, that's gonna look really bad in court. Your attorney is going to say that you were shooting to stop the threat. Okay, now the other thing I want to talk about with reference to holding somebody at gunpoint, in addition to everything I said about the law, basically defines the use of deadly force. They don't define the use of warnings, right? So now you're in the gray area. That's you're kind of out there in limbo, trying to figure out a way to or your attorney's trying to figure out a way to justify it. Because remember, there's going to be lots of other conflicting information that might come into this, right? So if you're in a situation where you're trying to defend giving warnings, that's a hard place to be, right? So, but the other issue with holding somebody at gunpoint is that you're doing something that you normally don't do. Okay, so for example, I shoot guns almost every day. I come here to the gun range and I shoot the guns, and this is a place where I'm comfortable handling the guns. Okay, I'm not comfortable handling the guns in other places, right? I'm not used to it. So that's why, for example, when I go home at night, when I take my gun off, right, I do not remove it from the holster, because the holster is the safety mechanism. So the gun's loaded around the chamber, it goes into the safe like this. Next morning, it comes out of the safe and goes onto my belt like this. The gun does not come out of the holster, because that is the safety mechanism. Now, granted, some of you guys, you might have an area in your house, let's say your basement, and you say, okay, this is the place where I clean my guns, I unload my guns, I clean them, I work on them, etc. But that's now an area that you're working in, that you feel comfortable in. If you try to handle the guns outside of areas that you normally feel comfortable in, there's a good chance that you're going to make a mistake. Okay, so you might, if you're holding somebody at gunpoint, and then all of a sudden, so let's say somebody breaks into your house, you've got somebody at gunpoint, you got the gun in your hand, and all of a sudden one of your kids come running out. Right now, you got a gun in your hand, and you got your kids running maybe between you and the threat. Okay, I mean, just to give you an example, all of a sudden you're in a situation where you got a gun in your hand, and you're being hit with the unexpected, and the unexpected that you were not prepared for, and it might be completely different. It might be somebody else showing up at your door. It might be the police showing up at the door, and now you've got a gun in your hand, and they don't know who's who. Okay. So that's why I tell people, gun comes out of the holster to be used, and it goes back into the holster as soon as possible. Okay, so holding somebody at gunpoint is a really bad idea. Now here's the thing: there's a big difference between having an intruder inside your house or dealing with somebody outside of your house. Inside the house, where it's very clearly defined that I'm supposed to be here. He's not. You know, he just broke in. I never saw this guy before. Um, you know, like outside the house, I would not sit there with my hand on my gun like this, all right? Whereas inside the house, I might do that, all right? Um, you know, especially if I thought that this person was truly dangerous, you know, at the very least, I would clear my garment so I can get to the gun more easily if I needed to. But again, the gun stays in the holster, and that's an inside the house situation. Outside of the house, okay, um, I would not be concerned with containing this person. Okay, if he wants to run away, let him run away, right? As long as he's not an immediate, and that's also the case inside the home. Okay, if he wants to run away, as long as he's not running through my kids or my family, if he wants to get away, let him get away. It's not your job to arrest him. It's your job just to defend your life and defend your family. So that's really important. You got to come into this with the right mindset. Okay, uh, you know, uh, the purpose of the gun is to protect you and your family, not to stop him from from taking your property or getting away. Let him get away. Outside of the house, okay, I would be very cautious about standing there with your hand on your gun. Okay, I would be more concerned with trying to create some distance, get behind cover, getting on getting on the phone, watching who the eyeballing the witnesses to see who they were. Um, Chances are that he probably will run away. Let him get away, man. I mean, that's it's not your job to arrest him. You already, your job is just to protect yourself and get at it. So one of the things that I recently asked my attorney is if you're involved in an altercation, and because in my state we can conceal carry or we can open carry, and I asked my attorney, well, normally I conceal carry, and if I see a situation starting to develop, what if I switch to open carry? Just to make the other person aware that I have a gun. And he said that could be seen as provoking the incident. Okay, so even in my state, right, which is a gun-friendly state, that can be seen as provoking. If you're in one of those other states like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Hawaii, California, I forgot which the other one was, Illinois, that will definitely be seen as provoking the incident. Okay, so now that's different than, let's say I have a jacket on and I feel that I might need to use my hands, and if I open up my jacket so I can, in case I need to use my hands, I can better defend myself with my hands. If I open up my jacket that way, and my gun, maybe it becomes exposed, that's a different situation. Okay. So now you have a reason for opening up your jacket. It was so that you could use your hands, and that's the reason why you don't do the talking. You let the attorney do the talking, because it's hard enough for me to explain this to you guys now, where I'm nice and calm. Imagine if you're in a situation where you got police headlights, and 5 cops standing around you. It's going to be really hard to explain why you opened up the jacket and why your gun was seen, and were you trying to threaten him or not, So that's why you keep your mouth shut and you get on the phone with your attorney. And what's going to happen is your attorney is not going to give an immediate statement. He's going to take a week or so to collect all the information, and then he's going to make a statement. And if you get arrested in the meantime, that's fine, man. Let him arrest you. I mean, that's, get comfortable with that idea. In fact, what I tell people is have a prepaid lawyer. And what you want to do is, because chances are if you end up getting arrested, right, and again, it may not even be a situation where you use the gun. It might just be a situation where you have a situation that escalates from yelling and screaming, and then the police are on the scene. Maybe there was pushing and shoving, and they decide to arrest everyone. If you're going to end up in jail, again, you're not going to, don't try to argue with the cops. Don't try to prove to the cops that they shouldn't be arresting you, because if they already decide that they're going to arrest everyone, everybody's getting arrested, okay? Anything that you're saying now is only going to get you in more trouble. So what you want to do is you want to have a prepaid lawyer, okay? And what you're going to do is when you get arrested, they're going to take away your cell phone. So you're only going to remember only one phone number, most likely, either your wife's or your mother's. And so what you want to do is you want to leave either your wife or your mother with a copy of your lawyer's card, right? Your prepaid legal service. And this way you can call them up and you can say, hey, listen, in this drawer, there's an envelope It's got the prepaid lawyer's number along with my account number. Please contact them and tell them where I'm at and that I need immediate help. Okay, and you might also, in that envelope, leave some money in case they need, to get by. They need to get by for a couple of days. So that's how you want to handle that. Now, the prepaid legal service that I use, that I've mentioned before, is U.S. Law Shield. And the great thing about these guys is I have a promo code for you guys that will get you some sort of discount. So the promo code is Pocono Shooting. There's the website, uslawshield.com. There's their phone number. But I think you got to put the promo code on the website. I don't know if you can give it. I don't know if you can sign up over the phone and use the promo code. I mean, I don't know. But it's not expensive. It's like something like $40 up front, and then somewhere between $10 and $15 a month, depending if you get any extra stuff or put your wife on it or something. And this covers you for anything, not just a gun self-defense, but even if it's a fist fight or your kids get in trouble at school over something, a fight or something. So the other thing is you can call these guys up and ask for legal advice. Like, for example, a question that I asked them is it legal for me to carry this unserialized gun that I built? And they said, yes, in my state, it is legal for me to carry this. So that's a question that I asked them. I didn't know the answer to that until I asked them, and now I know the answer. So any gun-related questions that you have, you're gonna ask them, and it's gonna be different from state to state. And if you're in one of those 6 anti-gun states, they're gonna start putting up a lot of roadblocks to you carrying, getting a carry permit. And then when you get a carry permit, they're gonna put all sorts of restrictions. What kind of gun you can carry, what areas you can carry. I don't know what it's going to be, but you're going to need a prepaid legal service to stay on top of that and send you regular emails and say, hey, this is what what they did. This is what, this is where you can carry, this is where you can't carry, etc. So you're going to need a prepaid legal service to stay on top of all the rapid changes that are going to happen in your state over the next 2 years. I expect after 2 years it'll probably stabilize a little bit, but in the next 2 years it's going to go through a lot of rapid changes. Okay, so definitely recommend that. So anyway, whole point of this video is the gun comes out of the holster to be used. That's it. Okay, does not come out of holster for any other reason. If you don't try to issue warnings with it, you don't try to, because your good intentions of trying to prevent, your good intentions of trying to warn somebody to stay back with the gun is now going to be seen as you making terroristic threats, and it's going to get you in a whole lot more trouble. And in those anti-gun states, they're not concerned with him who's been in and out of jail 6 times. He's on their side. Okay, they want you. You're the one that they want. They want to basically find some charge to hit you with. Because the way they see it, if they can get you convicted of anything, okay, an assault charge, right? Because again, pointing a gun at somebody, it can be considered an assault. If they can hit you with an assault charge and get a conviction, now they have a reason to deny you your gun rights. Okay, so this is the type of games that they're going to play, and that's why you need a prepaid legal service. And you really have to understand that there's 2 threats that you're facing, right? There's actually 3 threats. The first threat is the immediate threat. The second threat is going to be the media that's going to try and smear you, right? And the third threat is going to be the government, the state government, that's going to now try and get try to make your life as difficult as possible, because they see you as being on the other side. They see you as being their enemy. So you got to kind of, when you carry a gun, you got to be aware of these things and kind of go into this with eyes wide open and understand that the real threat is not the one that's standing in front of you. It's the government that's behind them, right? Because chances are in those anti-gun states, they're the ones that are promoting that guy. They're the ones that are, that are running these cashless bail systems. They want him out on the street attacking you because you're not on the government side. They see you as the enemy. So that's the reality of it, guys. So thanks for watching. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. On YouTube, I got 3 channels: Pocono Shooting, Absolute Gun Rights, and the original Safa channel, which goes back to 2006. The channels all sort of back each other up because a lot of times YouTube, hits me with a lot of censoring. I've also got channels on Odyssey over there on Pocono Tactical, on Rumble, and on BitChute, I'm Pocono Guns. I'll talk to y'all soon.